Oh my god! Somebody clip that. What do I do? Clip it.
Clip it. Never.
That was like
We gotta
7
clip the
right
clip.
there.
Can we clip this clip? We must clip the clip. Clip of a clip. Hashtag the taco Nate. Is that capital O? Okay, that's okay, cool. Sick. Clipping the clip. I'm being weird, I'm sorry. How you doing, Taconator? Let's cut you taco. I like this. Is funny. Clips of clips. I'm gonna start doing this. I think I'm gonna start doing this as a little fun thing, like taking clips of other people's clips that are on my channel. I think it'd be funny. Let's go. What?
You do not like them. You don't like them, right?
Time for this.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah? Yeah? Awesome, awesome.
Alright, let's get back to business now. Alright, so the reason why I'm back on this server today is because the other server, I was guaranteed by everyone in the server that it was a good server, no one attacks people on site and all that sort of stuff. And then they had issues with hackers apparently, and I guess I might have been one of the people that got it. Wait, is there any more in here? What are you doing, hon? Wait, work on that?
No, right now.
Oh, just move it up so you can close the door?
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to be okay with me doing that.
I said that yesterday.
Did you? Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay, I must have forgot.
Because you're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
And then it didn't happen?
It didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I just won. I won the internet. I would watch this series if it was cats. That's fun. Oh. Oh, I did get it. Oh my gosh, thank you. I thought I was gonna lose it. I'm back to the armorer's bench on this server.
No.
Oh, it's good animal. Hey, but the blacksmith. Oh, I see where I could have made my fix on that other thing. Alright, I'm a little dejected. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, good, I can put her up here then. Where's this girl? What the heck? Where is she? What the heck? Oh, there she is. What? Did I just hear about my daughter? I don't... What? I had to abandon you, Flint. I'm sorry. I did not want to do this. I'm gonna need some. Oh, yeah. Just need a little bit more space upstairs. Where did I put that? I think Mom's being sarcastic with the boys. Do I have a grinder around here somewhere? I'll leave this in here for now then. to get inside. I don't want to deal with all this window here. Oh, I need this. Right, she's right here. Okay. Let's see. What else can we do here? Mm-hmm. Okay, I gotta get off this machine. I do need the pants, so we'll take the pants. Let's make one here. Oh, I need string. Oh my gosh. What is with this game today? What's up, babe?
I was gonna ask you to wash your breakfast.
Oh, okay, bud. Love you. Are you okay, babe? I think he said yep.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh,
Some of this? Oh, man.
but I think it's actually not my working in Flotsam. I don't know why. Must be guilty pleasure. Maybe because it looks like, yeah, something I could actually build in life. Is that all I had to do? Oh, there's my pick. I don't have any knowledge yet. Good enough. We gotta level up, so we gotta farm like crazy. Oh, it's only 5. Oh, she needs everything basically. Okay. I'm not saying a word. Yep, not saying a word. See, my hand's done now. Regular leather again, dang it. And we don't have that at the moment. Uh-oh. Here's the cook anyways. Ooh, what's this? What happened here? What the heck? There we go. I look very beautiful without this on. I know this. I'm not dealing with this stuff right now. Just don't want to. Okay, this is... I'm so close. Right, let's just go do the things we need to do. Did it happen? Someone going live? Our friend Matt's up. Is it still a sleep stream? Ah. That's okay. It's okay. For now. Hi, getting levels.
Hey, Dad.
Yes.
Can you change it?
Put him right here, babe.
He needs wipes.
Oh, he needs wipes? Where's his caddy?
I'll go grab it.
Okay, babe. Thank you.
You can find out what's in the bed.
You know he's a baby, right? He's not insanely fragile. As long as you don't damage the head, babies are pretty pretty well, pretty
Terrible.
like
Resilient.
yeah. They're like if like babies that survive in snowstorms with like next to nothing on because their body it's like a penguin's body when they're babies.
We're not saying put him in a snowstorm.
But good.
Ooh, he's got a turd in there. Pull that blind. One more. Yeah? That being cleaned up? Ah, got most of that. Is everything okay out there?
Yeah.
Everybody alright?
Yeah.
What happened?
Nothing. Your son can't have me wipe him.
What? My son what?
He picked up the logs without the sweater on.
He what?
Picked up the logs without a sweater on.
Oh, is he cold? Is he not feeling good?
Oh, he has No, let's see.
I'll come up and check on him, okay? Alright, right back, guys. Got Tinja Baba.
Anything on that one? I don't care. You know what you're doing.
I don't know where he gets it from.
Get over here.
Be alright back?
Oh, you can get it.
Did he find out he's allergic to it?
No, yeah.
I know.
Put a hoodie on like last.
You were too tired. You were in the mood, Nick.
Yeah, it was right on the wake up. I'm like, okay, I gotta go this one.
What this? Yeah, we put it on circle.
Okay, who's got baby? Huh?
I'm trying to use bone and bone sword, so.
Oh.
It's for rashes.
Can someone take baby so I can get back to streaming, please?
Yeah, I'll take some.
Whoever. Oh.
Until we can put the.
Alright.
Alright. Jeremiah has that on his arms.
I know. Alright. Love you guys. Alright. Well, oh, did I put it in grit? Oh. Faster region, huh? Alright, what's that? 3 more? Yep.
I should put a hoodie on like they got.
Yeah, he's got scratch.
I'll just look. It's just going to be easier that way in the long run. Oh. Man, the other one had like all this. The other one's literally just, it just needs to be rebuilt up, right? So I'm trying to convince myself to do this. I don't think I'm getting very far with it. I'm gonna need, I'm gonna take a brawl with me. She's gonna be like passive, do nothing. Alright, Ben, love you. It's not a competition, bud. My kids are so in awe that the baby is a year old now. I don't think they even noticed it went by that fast. I'll do this one for now. Wait, what? Yeah, because I already got one in my hands, right? Oh, I don't have any. I'm not built up good enough to bring my thralls. Dang it. Oh, heard baby screaming. Level am I in this game? 22. I gotta skin an animal. I don't plan on having money for that much longer. I just need. I'm gonna buy like a. Hey, babe.
Hey, Dad.
What's
I
up?
was wondering how we could get some nuts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you want, you can roll me a baby one. A baby one.
Oh. Last.
And we can all go outside. Okay.
Me? I was gonna be smoking on a messed up joint.
It's okay. Oh. Oh, that's a bone
I just
one.
realized I took the whole thing.
That's fine. Let's take it. Throw it right here.
I'll go try and attempt to roll your baby one.
Alright. Oh, you're off. I need you more than you believe it, lady. Dang, I come out here for a stupid bunch of stuff and now I can. Oh, I got a sword I can give her. Wait, maybe if I just put you on passive and I don't have to worry about you ever. Alright. My kids are now realizing that they're all gonna be adults when he's a teenager. Oh, what was that sound? I heard boop boop boop. Oh, you received a gift from B-Rad. What? Brad, what did you do, boy? this sped me up quite a bit last time too. You know, it's funny. I don't even remember if I need any of this stuff, but I'm taking it anyways. Well, now that I got her with me, I'm gonna. I think I will splurge a little bit on what I pick up. Literally all the stuff I'm gonna pick up is going right in her pockets. What'd you do, boy? I saw that. I got a boop boop boop. I said, Loki sent you a gift. What did you send me? I think me and Flint's gonna have to come up with a revenge plot for that cheater on that server. I want it back. Oh, sweet. Again. Or do I have to check? Is Bubba should here? Oh, never mind. Never mind. It's not in here because she flipped the thing over. Matt's still sleep streaming, is he? Right, little boy. Dang, I was trying to be a tricksy little booger there. Didn't happen though. One second, I'm gonna. They're looking for the bottle for the buddy. Oh, I dropped all my stuff on the floor just now. No, I went out there with him. Never mind, I don't have it. I remember that now. I handed the Bible and thought, hey, I'll feed him. I was about to give up. Hey, little fishy. There we go. Oh, what's that for? Thank you. Wow. Okay.
Oh, look at this.
What, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, my wife just gave me a picture of her when she's a little baby.
your...
Okay. You want to put that somewhere it's not going to get wrecked?
Yeah, what's your boys?
Okay. I just got a pork chop, cauliflower, and broccoli, guys. You really can't go through life and feel like a winner over one simple action. Baby, just a screaming. Okay, man, you're There we go. Should make Loki a mod. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. Oh. They burn me, guys. I want to burn them back. Oh, I can say space if I just do this one. Then. I'm starting to get worried about that right there. Maybe I'll take this stuff and I'll just This girl needs real armor. Just gonna go for the metal at this point.
Yeah, I think it's 3 or 4 before my grandma died.
What's up, baby girl? What's this?
Oh, no, it's my picture. I showed the boys.
Mm.
Like, I have your
You're like,
eyebrows.
You're like this. Oh, is that
Shelly Belly
Jeremiah that said I had your eyebrows?
No, later. And, I just realized Shelly Belly does that sometimes, too.
What?
Yeah.
Hello. Wait here, please. No, let's go finish this punk off. Oh, I was hoping for something a little bit better than that. Oh. any sticks in it. Since I'm here, I might as well grab a mixed bag, right? Nothing wrong with that. That's why I want a pickaxe so bad. Oh, it's such a useful weapon. And everyone's like, it grades so fast. You're like, yeah, that's because you're using it for 2 jobs. It's gonna go twice as fast. It just means you have to carry less, which is amazing. I love carrying. I like carrying less items if it means I can save weight and space. If I can do that job with that one item that's got multi-tool function. We got this. We got this. I'm only grabbing one because I can't remember if I have any wood at home or not. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. Another snake egg. Oh man! I'm gonna stop at my son. So I can get some ichor out of this guy. Not this time. Oh, I need this back then. Must hit this back too. Wait, have I been dropping all the metal? No, I haven't been picking up any metal, that's why. I feel like they dumbed down the AI in this game a bit. Like before, these guys would be fast and be after you. Or is that just because it was on PS5? Let's clunk him over the head even.
The serpent! Enemies at the gate! Ah!
Fancy moves, boy. That's what I got. That's all I got. Wait, what? Oh, I was gonna say, what the heck just happened with that? There we go. That can go there. That can go there. That can go there. Metals, materials, generate this one. Oh, that died? Go get him. I'll never turn down free stuff. What was it? This is just cool.
As the snake strikes, so do I! My set, did you see that?
Okay, hit those.
Good day, noble adventurer. I am Gilzan, treasure hunter and man of fortune. If you are planning to wander the avenues of this cursed city, then perhaps I can offer some advice.
I got water here now. I really do throw away too much, don't I? Oh, I do have it. So that's the thing, the jogging and quick footed one is what you want.
Set will glory in your death.
Scots are bad. I can handle 2. As long as it's below, as long as it's a 2 and it's 1, not 2 and 2. But nice, they gave me some stuff I could use. Get a tiny amount of acre from that. That's good, dude. Heen of Shemira. It's different. Let's go get him. I need all the elephant or rhino hide. Elephant hide, oh my gosh. Haven't built down that way in a while too. Level 30. Oh, 7 levels to go. Okay, we'll just save up for level 30 then. I'll save, I guess. I could use the shield, let's be honest. You know, the funny thing is, I thought, like, I genuinely thought, I was gonna come out and she's gonna have armor on. I mean, other than the thing on her head, right? Oh, this guy turtled right before he left out, huh? Alchemy is his name. Bingo was his game. O-B-I-N-G-O. B-I-N-G-O. Okay, by here. We got this, guys. We got this. I'm gonna eat some of my food. Hold ahead. So listen to my sons arguing in the basement's hilarious. Video killed the radio star. 1 second, guys. I need something to get my mind off of things.
ended.
Alright.
The surgical wing alarms began screaming during his night rotation. Patient incoming, adolescent, female, cyanosis advancing, barked the comms relay. Sam snapped on gloves and ran to Bay 4, just as the gurney arrived. The girl was gasping, eyes rolling, her mottled lavender skin turning a terrifying bluish violet at the edges. Oxygen saturation 43%, Alara read off, already prepped. Her upper vent is collapsed, and secondary gills aren't engaging. She's choking on her own secretions, said another student. Intubate through the gills? That takes too long. We need to bypass the tracheal fork. But the angle is impossible without robotics. Sam pushed through them. We're out of time. He grabbed the closest tubing unit and a scalpel. The girl was shaking, eyes fluttering. He steadied his hands, located the anterior throat ridge, and made a shallow incision just enough to expose the inner airway. No, 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 you're outside the procedure protocol, one of the senior students shouted. Sam ignored him. He slid the tube into place. Air hissed. The girl's color changed slowly, but unmistakably, from violet to rose. She's stabilizing, Alara said, stunned. You cut the wrong angle and she bleeds out, the senior student yelled, voice tight with fury. But she's breathing, Sam replied, glancing at the monitor. The attending instructor, Dr. Mulray, stepped in, having just arrived. Her gaze swept the team. He's right. Continue stabilization. Silence followed. The monitor ticked. The girl inhaled. Another life saved. They didn't talk to Sam much after that, but they watched. From across labs, in surgery prep, during simulations. Eyes lingered on him too long. Instructors mentioned alternative techniques without using his name. Reports circulated with dry phrases like unauthorized procedure with positive outcome. Then came the mind collapse, and everything changed again. Sam had just scrubbed out from a standard abdominal fusion when the paging alarm shrieked through the halls. Mass trauma, structural failure, multiple incoming. 7 patients, all Valen, all with crushed limbs, splintered torsos. Their dual skeletons had snapped under the weight of collapsed mineral supports. Crystallized bone fragments had lacerated muscle and organ tissue. The alien students buzzed around them with bone-knit lasers, aiming carefully, firing. Sam crouched by a groaning male with a severely twisted femur, reading the scan. The alignment's off, he said. The laser will fuse it correctly. No, it won't. Not if the bone's crooked. You're welding it wrong. The student looked down his nose. Barbaric nonsense. We do not use traction. That's obsolete. Sam didn't answer. He just grasped the leg gently, found the tension line, and pulled. The Valen patient screamed, and then the bone slid back into place with a heavy click. The monitor showed immediate improvement in circulatory flow. Stabilization initiated. Only then did Sam nod for the laser. 3 weeks later, that same patient was walking. The others? Still in corrective therapy. 2 had to be rebroken. Sam didn't gloat. But others started watching closer. Some asked him questions. Others just stared. And one Vorthan, the same student who'd called him a barbarian, stopped speaking to him entirely, which suited Sam just fine. He wasn't there to make friends. He was there to make sure people survived. The first thank you arrived before dawn, carried on tired feet and the rasp of a voice that had learned to work again. Sam was reviewing night labs when a nurse pointed to the doorway. The Valen male from the transport accident stood there, wrapped in a soft, neutral robe, color healthy, eyes steady. He held a paper cup in one hand and a small plant in the other. The plant had variegated leaves that caught the corridor, light like scales. I was told to walk every day, he said, each word careful, as if speech itself were part of his rehab. Today I walked here. Sam set the tablet down. You should be resting. I do that plenty. I wanted to see the student who refused to let me stop. The Valen tilted the plant toward him. It grows in poor soil. It tries again. That is what the therapist said I am doing. Sam accepted it with both hands. His chest tightened in a way that had nothing to do with effort. How are the hearts holding up? Paired and stubborn, the man said. He offered a small smile, then glanced at the monitors down the hall. You should get back to your rounds. I will. Thank you for this. It is I who thank you, the man replied, and walked on, steady
Also,
and
it's going
slow,
to grinder.
counting each step like a promise. By noon, the plant sat on a shelf above Sam's desk. He caught himself looking at it between cases, the way a swimmer glances at the surface before diving again. Months worked past like stones in a river. The mind collapse became case studies and therapy schedules. The femur patient Sam had realigned grew stronger by the week, first with a walker, then with a cane. 8 weeks out, he could bear weight for short periods. 12 weeks out, he finished a corridor loop without help. The others who had been fused without traction returned one by one for corrective procedures. No one said the word avoidable. They did not have to. The faculty formed a review panel to analyze the outcomes. Sam sat beneath the cool lights of the amphitheater while Dr. Mulry presented a slide of fracture lines, then superimposed the post-repair angles. Numbers did not sneer, but they spoke clearly. The traction a human had insisted upon produced better alignment, fewer complications, less pain. Vorthen stood when the floor opened for debate. He addressed the panel, not Sam. Manual manipulation risks soft tissue damage. Laser-guided fusion can be trained to correct for angle if the operator is disciplined. The outcome differences can be explained by individual variance, not method. Dr. Tarev folded his long fingers. We aim to reduce harm and improve function. We do not care whom a result flatters. We care that the result is real. Vorthen glanced at Sam, then returned to his seat. Sam exhaled through his nose and kept his expression still. He was tired of being the argument. They recommended, carefully and with many caveats, that traction be considered before fusion when alignment was poor and time allowed. The policy update fit into 3 lines of the training manual. It felt heavier than that. 2 weeks later, a new emergency cut through afternoon calm. A surgical prep room tripped alarms. Sam ran with Alara and found a Valen woman lying rigid on the table, skin blotched with rose and violet, throat ridges swelling. Her eyes were wide. She tried to inhale and made only a squeal. Reaction, Alara said, already pulling the card open. The algae-based dye from the scan. No time for speculation, Sam said. Airway first. Her pulse was fast and weak. Sam lifted her chin, cleared the mouth, and signaled for oxygen. The auto-injector sat in its cradle, a gleaming module with a single button. It primed, but did not fire. The status light flashed yellow. He did not waste a second fighting it. He drew up the first-line medication with a manual syringe and drove it into the thigh. He kept his voice level, for himself as much as anyone. Keep the bag ready. Watch the chest. If she loses the airway, we cut. Not deep, just enough to get around the swelling. Alara nodded. Oxygen hissed. The woman trembled. Sam counted his breaths with hers, tracking the rise and fall, the faint wheeze, the way the blotches spread then held. He started a line, ran fluids, asked for the second medication to tamp down the histamine effect. He checked for any whisper of improvement. After what felt like a very long minute, the swelling stopped growing. After 2 more, it began to recede by degrees that only the anxious learn to see. At 10 minutes, the wheeze eased. At 30 minutes, she was breathing on her own with oxygen support. They observed for hours, because that is what you do for reactions that like to come back when no one is watching. She went home the next day with avoidance instructions, an injector that staff had tested twice, and a number to call if anything felt wrong. Sam walked out of the room with his hands shaking and had to sit for a moment with his elbows on his knees. You did not even look at the injector again, Alara said softly. It failed, he answered. She could not afford my pride. Students started asking in private for a workshop on emergency care without smart tools. Dr. Mulry booked an unused lab and brought a crate of old supplies. Sam set up stations with splints, slings, oxygen bags, tape, and a few weights. He used anatomical models with dual rib sets and the translucent mannequin that showed simulated blood flow. What if we have the laser? A student asked. Use it when the bone is straight. If it is crooked, fix the crooked part first. Is that not dangerous? So is walking on a leg set wrong? He caught himself sounding sharp and softened his tone. Gentle traction is not a contest of strength. It is a line and a counterline. If pain spikes, stop. If pulse vanishes downstream, stop. Document everything. Vorthen arrived late, stood at the back, and said nothing. When a clamp slipped in one student's hands, he spoke for the first time in hours. This is showmanship, he said. It cannot scale. We train to operate systems, not to improvise with tape. Systems fail, Sam said. You deserve a plan when that happens. What if the plan is you? Vorthen said. Sam considered the alien's face and heard fatigue beneath the disdain. Then the plan is us. That is the point. They practiced on models until hands learned the weight of a limb and the patience of a minute. No one applauded at the end. The lack of applause felt like respect. The girl whose airways Sam had saved returned for follow-up with her mother, a quiet figure with quick eyes. The incision had healed into a thin line that sat like a seam under a necklace. She spoke with a clear voice, soft from disuse, asking when she could swim in the canal again. Not yet, Sam said, smiling before the rest of his words. Your airway needs time, 6 weeks to let the tissue settle, then we reassess. No water until we are certain the scar will not pull. You can walk a lot, breathe deep, sing if you want, soft at first. She nodded solemnly, and then, as if testing the advice, hummed a few notes. The sound was high and sweet. Her mother's eyes shone. Sam told himself he did not see it because that would make his throat tight. On the way out, the girl tapped the badge on his coat. You are the one who uses hands. I use what is in the room, he said. Sometimes hands are first. She seemed to taste that answer, then nodded and left. In late spring, an electrical storm rolled across the city and lingered like a warning. The Academy's emergency systems drilled protocols and checked power fail-safes every shift. Sam spent a day in the ICU shadowing an instructor, practicing bag mask ventilation for the 100th time, focusing on the rhythm the way a drummer learns a song. 1 breath every 5 seconds for a stable adult if the chest rises and the oxygen saturation cools. Less volume than the machine wants to give. Gentle seal, no over-squeeze, watch the stomach. Vorthen came by the bedside of a long-term patient and pretended the ventilator alarm fascinated him more than the human pumping air by hand. After a while, he said, without looking up, There are 6 patients in this ward. You cannot bag all of them. I would not try, Sam answered. I would ask for help. From who? From you, Sam said. He kept his eyes on the chest that lifted and fell under his hand. From anyone who wants that person to see another sunrise. Vorthen said nothing. He did not leave. A month later, the orthopedic service called Sam to evaluate a minor with pelvic injuries, massive bruising, pain on even small movements, blood pressures that sagged when staff turned him. Imaging was partial and full scans were delayed while trauma cases stacked up. Sam ran his hands carefully across the patient's hips, feeling for instability. The pelvis shifted under gentle pressure and the man cried out. Binder now, Sam said. Tight. Mid-pelvis, not the belly. The team slid the wrap under, cinched until the bones could no longer dance apart. The patient's face loosened, and the numbers crept upward. They transfused and watched.
Oh, do I have to go?
Scans later confirmed a ring fracture that would have bled more if left to wobble. No
B-Rad.
heroics, just a strap and a little attention.
Okay, thank
to
you
where it
very
hurt.
much, my little brother.
Dr. Tarev found Sam in the hall afterward. Your notes were good, he said.
I was
More
not ready for
important,
this
they were
Valheim.
readable. You explained what you felt
Thank you very much,
and why
Brad.
you acted.
Well,
That helps
I still have
others
one in
out.
there?
I did not want to be the only one who knew how tight to pull. Good, Dr. Tarev said. We do not train solists here. Sam thought of the plant above his desk, of the girl humming, of the miner breathing easier under a simple band, of the man who walked every day because he had been told
That's
to.
pretty cool.
He felt less like an oddity and more like a tool on a tray. No one worships a tool. That suited him fine. Night settled over the academy, while the storm far from the city blanked out half the stars. Sam stood on the causeway with Alara and listened to the low hum of the hospital. She nudged his shoulder with hers. You know the stories make you sound like a character in an old fable, she said. The human who fixed things with stubbornness and ropes. I would like to retire the rope part, he said, but I will keep the stubbornness. It
I would
is
like to
useful.
retire the ropes.
You think the storm will hit us. It always does sooner or later. Will you be ready? I will be tired, he said. I will still be here. Far below, the water that ringed the academy
I don't remember
lapped
that coming
against
in this
stone
part
with a
four, but-
slow, steady beat. The future storm was not yet at their door. The practice had to be enough until it was. The plasma storm arrived in the middle of Sam's final year. The first warning came as a low rumble that shuddered through the academy's towers. Then the lights flickered, monitors blinked, and the familiar sterile hum of machinery dipped into silence for a fraction of a
Where did
second
I put
before
my
emergency
thing here?
reserves caught. Students and staff looked up from their rounds, startled but not panicked.
Oh, it is there.
The Valen power grids were built for this. But Storms did not ask permission. By nightfall, the ICU ward lost its systems in one abrupt cascade. Monitors shut down, ventilators stuttered, and then the entire wing dimmed to emergency strips of pale orange glow. The silence that followed was worse than the alarms it meant. 6
I really am
critical
kinda
patients
simple
had no
anyway.
machines breathing for them anymore. Backup power isn't engaging, Alara said, slamming at the console. The surge fried the regulators. Portable vents, a student called, already tugging at storage. They found only 2. 6 patients, Sam said, scanning the row of
8
beds.
and 10.
He could hear the faint, shallow gasps before
Okay,
lungs
it's just a
failed.
better one altogether.
Not enough. Panic spread in voices around him. Who gets priority? We rotate. We rotate. We rotate. We wait for the engineers. Sam grabbed a resuscitator bag from the emergency cart, pressed it to the first patient's facepiece, and began squeezing rhythmically. Air hissed in. The patient's chest rose. That buys one person time, Vorthen said tightly from across the room. And do you intend to do that for hours? Yes, Sam said. He looked around. Unless you want him to die right now. His tone cut through the panic. Students froze. Alara stepped forward first, pulled another bag from the cart, and sealed it over the next patient. Her hand worked the bulb, tentative at first, then steady. Set a rhythm, Sam said. 1 breath every 5 seconds. Don't overfill. Watch the chest, not the bag. A 3rd student joined, then a 4th. Vorthon hesitated, then took the last bag, glaring at Sam as though the act itself were an insult. His hands shook as he tried to squeeze evenly. Slower, Sam said, without judgment. You'll tire faster if you fight the rhythm. I am not your assistant, Vorthen hissed, but he adjusted. Minutes stretched into an hour. Sweat slicked Sam's arms. His forearms cramped. He swapped with Alara, massaged feeling back into his fingers, and resumed again. Around the ward, the hiss of oxygen bags and the soft rise and fall of chests became the only sounds. At the 90-minute mark, one student broke down crying, unable to keep the rhythm. Sam slid beside him, took over the bag, and said only, "Rest, drink, then come back." By the time engineers restored partial systems nearly 3 hours later, every patient in the ward was still alive. Not stable, not safe, but alive. When the ventilators hummed back on and the students collapsed against the walls in exhaustion, Sam looked around the room. Their faces were pale, their hands swollen from effort, but none of them would forget. Machines failed. Hands hadn't. The next morning, whispers ran ahead of Sam like ripples. They kept 6 alive, with nothing but those primitive bags. It was the humans' idea. The faculty called a meeting. Sam expected reprimand for improvisation again. Instead, Dr. Tarev addressed the group in measured tones. Manual ventilation is not efficient, he said, but it is effective when nothing else remains. What happened last night was not elegant. It was survival. Document your methods. We will add them to the emergency adjunct protocols. Sam blinked. For the first time, they weren't just tolerating him. They were institutionalizing what he had done. Vorthen leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes fixed on Sam. So, we add caveman medicine to the curriculum, he muttered, not quietly enough. No, Dr. Mulry corrected. We add survival to the curriculum. It appears survival sometimes looks like caveman medicine. A ripple of laughter moved through the room, but it wasn't mocking. In the weeks after the storm, Sam noticed a shift. Students came to him quietly, asking him to walk through the bag technique again, to show them where to press when chests collapsed, to correct their grip on splints. They didn't want their names on the practice logs, not yet, but they wanted to know. Alara helped him run informal drills after hours. They borrowed dummies from the surgical lab and practiced compressions and ventilation. At first, the others were clumsy. annoyed at how much effort it took to sustain the rhythm. But little by little, they improved. "Why are you so calm when it's chaos?" one student asked him during a break. Sam shrugged. "I'm not. I just pick one thing I can fix and start there. The rest has to wait." They repeated the line to each other later, almost like a mantra. During one evening round, Sam stopped by the bed of the adolescent girl whose airway he had cut weeks before. She was sitting up, breathing comfortably, drawing in a sketchbook. She grinned when she saw him. "They said you squeeze bags for hours," she said, "like inflating balloons." "Something like that," he admitted. "Mother said that is stubborn and dangerous." "She's right," Sam said, "but sometimes stubborn and dangerous is what keeps you alive." The girl tilted her head, considering. Then she drew him, with oversized hands pumping a giant balloon into a heart. He laughed despite himself and let her keep the victory. By the end of the semester, the academy quietly rolled out new training sessions labeled Adaptive Emergency Medicine. No one credited Sam directly, but he recognized his fingerprints in the modules. Manual circulation, emergency airway access, field traction, bag ventilation. For most, it was just another block in their curriculum. For him, it was proof that everything he'd sweated through hadn't been for nothing. On the balcony one evening, Alara found him leaning against the railing, staring at the storm-scoured horizon. "You know," she said, "they'll tell stories about that night for years. I'd rather they just remember the patients lived. They will, but they'll also remember who showed them how." Sam didn't answer. He just looked out at the horizon where the plasma glow had finally faded, and where another storm was always waiting. Graduation arrived not with trumpets, but with quiet awe that clung to the halls. The amphitheater glowed with polished stone and banners representing the sciences of Vela. Rows of alien students filled the lower tiers, robes draping like flowing scales in the light. Sam adjusted his own robe, dark blue with silver trim, and tried to ignore the way it felt heavy on his shoulders. He was still just a kid from a city hospital back home, yet somehow he stood among them, about to be named equal. He had not expected to make it this far. More than once, he had nearly washed out, not for lack of skill, but for refusing to let a patient die just because the machine had said so. Now the whispers had become stories. The student who pressed two hearts back to life with nothing but hands. The student who carved an airway when tech froze. The student who dragged bones into place with old-fashioned traction and dared to show others how. The student who pumped air into lungs for 3 hours during the storm. Legends exaggerated, he knew. But behind every one of them was a
I'm gonna
living
check.
person
That's
who
all
had
I'm gonna let
walked
you know.
away instead of being buried. Dr. Tarev stood at the podium, his slate-gray figure outlined against the banners. His voice carried steady, even through the cavernous hall. Graduates of the academy, today we recognize not only knowledge, but application. Medicine is not memorization. It is not the glow of instruments. It is the moment you are faced with life that hangs by threads, and you decide whether to act. A pause, heavy as a heartbeat. Some of you acted in ways none of us expected. One among you taught us that our hands may still matter when our machines fail. For that reason, we award this year's commendation for Excellence in Applied Medicine to... He let the silence hang just long enough for Sam's chest to tighten. Samuel Carter. For a second, Sam did not move. He felt Alara's hand press between his shoulder blades. He rose, robe trailing, and walked to the podium under a ripple of applause that began hesitant and grew until the amphitheater vibrated with it. Dr. Tarev placed the silver medallion over his shoulders. The weight joined the robes, yet for once it felt right. When Sam turned to face the rows of students, he saw familiar faces among them. The girl with the healed throat scar, smiling and humming under her breath. The miner with the pelvic fracture, strong enough to sit tall in his seat. The man with 2 stubborn hearts, clapping carefully as if to protect his chest. They had come not as patients, but as proof. Alara leaned forward from the row behind
1
him
second.
and
Right
whispered,
back.
"They'll tell stories about you for generations. The human who reminded us not everything needs a machine." Sam let a faint smile tug at his face. Machines break, hands don't at least, not as often. The audience laughed softly, not mockingly, but with a respect that warmed the hall. Later that evening, after ceremonies had ended and the city lights shimmered across the canal, Sam found himself back in the training ward. The room was empty, quiet. He picked up one of the old resuscitator bags left in a drawer, turned it over in his hand, and squeezed once. The hiss of air was soft but clear. He remembered every moment, the ache in his arms, the tremor of his hands, the smell of blood, and antiseptic and ozone from failing power lines. He remembered thinking he could not do another minute, and then doing it anyway because someone's breath
Hey,
depended
Brad,
on his.
if you want, there's a
Footsteps
pork chop
echoed
over here if you
behind
want some, and we'd cook
Vorthen
broccoli and
entered.
cauliflower if you
No
want some.
robe, just a plain tunic. He stood for a long time without speaking. Finally, he
If
said,
You
I
want some?
argued against you every chance I had. I thought your methods were dangerous, reckless, prideful. Sam set the bag down. They were. Sometimes. And yet they worked, Vorthen admitted, the words like gravel forced out of his throat. When I was pumping air into a stranger's lungs that night, I thought of nothing else, only the rhythm. I hated it. I hated that you were right, but the patient lived. Sam nodded. That's enough. Hating me doesn't matter. Them living does. Vorthen gave a short, reluctant bow of his head. Then perhaps I can learn to hate you less. Sam almost laughed, but instead extended his hand. After a hesitation that stretched too long, Vorthen clasped it. His grip was firm, awkward, but real. The Academy's first formal course on adaptive emergency
looks
medicine
beautiful, holy heck.
launched the following season. It included a section on manual circulation, a unit on traction before fusion, a lab on surgical airways, and, yes, hours of practice with resuscitator bags. The instructors delivered it dryly, clinically, as if it had always belonged. But in whispers, the students knew whose hands had proven it first. Years later, Sam's name would fade from footnotes into stories, and stories would twist into myths of a stubborn human who refused to let machines dictate when life ended, who taught an entire world that skill was not always what technology gave you, but what you carried in your own bones and muscles. On the night after his graduation, Sam walked the causeway alone. The water below lapped with its steady rhythm,
Okay, I need
like a heart that would not quit.
thick
He
clothing
paused
on this
halfway
option.
across,
Okay.
looked up at a sky scattered with new stars, and allowed himself one long breath of air that did not taste of antiseptic or ozone. For the first time since he arrived, he felt not like an outsider or an oddity, but a doctor. And that, he thought, was enough. The velitary sun didn't burn. It hummed soft and syrupy as it filtered through the emerald canopy of the botanical dome.
Oh, did I
Beneath
leave it
its glow,
upstairs?
Alex Caro balanced on a scaffold 4 meters off the ground, arguing with a rusted bracket
do with it?
and sweating through his uniform.
Oh no, I did destroy
He'd been
it,
on
but I
Venora for
enjoyed it.
13 days, and already he'd
Well,
torn
good.
a
No,
muscle
it's right
tripping
here.
over
Oh,
a root
gosh.
that moved, singed his forearm on a thermophilic kettle beetle, and once, memorably, sneezed so violently during a cross-species greeting that his translator collar misfired and declared war on a moss. Now, he just wanted to secure the overhead canopy without additional humiliation. Just a quarter turn, he muttered, leaning in with his torque spanner. That's all you need to behave. The bracket snapped loose with a whine, and something sharp jabbed into his palm. He yelped and stumbled back, dropping the tool, which clanged off the scaffold and disappeared into the lush undergrowth. He cradled his hand, eyes narrowing at the source of pain, a sliver of fibrous plant material buried deep beneath the skin of his palm, near the base of the thumb. Dark green, almost iridescent, and tough as sin. The wound was barely bleeding, but it pulsed angrily. Stupid biosupport vine, he grumbled. The plants here weren't just decorative, they were part of the dome's structure, grown to provide living support beams and temperature regulation. And apparently, splinters. Alex climbed down, muttering curses that probably violated 3 interspecies decency laws, and flexed his fingers. No numbness, no serious bleeding. He knew the drill. It wasn't the first time he'd gotten something embedded in his skin. Back on Terabase Sagitta, a sliver of carbon
Oh,
glass
more?
had nearly gone septic in his thigh
No, I can make stuff
before
for
he'd
you,
worked
though.
it out with a surgical pick and a steady hand. He'd just have to dig this one out. Quietly. The Velitari didn't do blood. Not publicly, anyway. The briefing had been clear. The Velitari saw open wounds as either sacred or catastrophic. Their evolutionary biology, built around slow, controlled regeneration, made their pain response communal and their healing process ritualized. You didn't get hurt unless it was part of a spiritual cycle. You didn't bleed in public unless you were dying or trying to transcend your body. Alex was not interested in transcending anything. He just wanted lunch. 15 minutes later, seated cross-legged behind the low stone bench of the research pavilion, he unzipped his field kit. The other humans were either at the education lodge or documenting pollination behavior in the nectar domes. Alone, with only the faint rustle of garden vines for company, he sterilized a thin probe with a heat capsule and set to work. The splinter was deeper than he thought. His skin fought back with every press, but after a few careful incisions and more profanity under his breath, he coaxed the fibrous shard free. Blood welled up, bright and human. He wiped it clean, applied antiseptic foam, and sealed the wound with a hydroadhesive band. Then he exhaled, rolled his eyes at himself, and bit into a vacuum-sealed protein wrap. Above him, woven among the vine canopy, 2 Velatari students stared through the tendrils of a monitoring creeper, unmoving. Neither blinked, neither spoke. They had seen everything. By dusk, the footage was viral. Not just among students, but across the entire Velatari educational web. What they had witnessed, interpreted through the layers of cultural doctrine and ancient biomyths, was not minor injury management. It was introspective excoriation, a rite lost to time, forbidden under modern Velatari philosophy, a process by which heretics sought to physically sever spiritual corruption from their internal bodies. The act was solitary, painful, intimate, and always ended in death, or madness. Alex Caro, the Terran biologist, had calmly performed it over lunch and followed it with a snack. A spiritual advisor was summoned within the hour. The footage was paused, dissected, annotated. He had used metal. He had shown no shame. He had laughed, they said, at pain, at spirit, at the sacred. By nightfall, the term living vessel was trending in 4 dialects. Alex didn't find out until the next morning. He was elbow deep in a soil diagnostic panel when Dr. Rajani stormed in, flanked by 2 very concerned liaison officers and a local guide whose bioluminescent throat sacs flickered with unease. "What did you do yesterday?" Rajani asked without preamble. Alex blinked. "Fixed a bracket, got a splinter. Why? Did you remove it yourself?" He wiped his hands and nodded slowly. "Yeah. Couldn't get anyone in time. I sterilized everything. Why?" The guide made a sound like wind passing through reeds. The translator buzzed once, hesitated, then whispered. It was a sacred act of internal separation, a forbidden rite of soul cleaving. Alex stared. "I just got a splinter." "You performed something they outlawed 1,000 years ago," Rajani said, dragging a hand through her hair. "And they caught it on camera." "Oh," Alex said. Then, "That's not ideal." Kith was not like other Velatari. Where most were serene, elongated, and slow-moving, Kith shimmered with restless energy. His skin vibrated with shifting colors too fast for most humans to track. When he spoke, his translator defaulted to rapid Terran slang just to keep up. He showed up at the research pavilion that afternoon, clutching a permission tablet and wearing a band of ceremonial readlight, a sign of academic observer status. "I'm Kith," he said. "I study Terran chaos habits." Alex looked up from his soil tray. "That's a real field?" "Now it is," Kith replied cheerfully. "You are my primary subject." Alex, still bandaged, still sore, sighed into his elbow. "Why?" "Because you extracted pain with metal, while alone," and then smiled. "I was hungry." Kith's gaze didn't waver. "Why tolerate pain at all? Why not ritualize it? Why is skin something you cut casually? Why is blood not sacred? Why did you use your lunch fork as a tool?" Alex blinked. "I didn't use a fork. You wiped it with one," Kith said. Alex pinched the bridge of his nose. "Please don't tell me that part's in the footage." Kith nodded solemnly. "It's in the musical remix." Alex groaned. Kith's glow pulsed with excitement. "I will be shadowing you for 10 cycles. I have 312 questions. May I observe your next wounding?" "I don't plan my woundings." "Exactly," Kith said, taking notes. The next 2 days were exhausting. Kith followed Alex everywhere, asking endless questions about Terran pain
I'll
thresholds,
just throw one on.
cultural injury myths, how humans differentiated between sport injury, workplace trauma, and recreational bloodletting. He seemed particularly fascinated by sports like rugby and martial arts, which he described as non-ceremonial conflict ballet. Alex tried to keep it light, but he was sore. Literally. The wound wasn't healing the way it should. The skin itched, but not like a scab. It pulsed, faintly warm, like something inside was rooting in. By the 4th day, he developed a mild fever. Nothing severe, but enough to make him wonder if the splinter had left behind more than just bad press. Kith, of course, noticed. "You smell different," he said, "and your heat aura's distorted." Alex rubbed his arm. "It's probably just a low-grade infection." "You are hosting," Kith said, not blinking. "Hosting what?" Kith leaned closer. "We don't know yet, but I've submitted the footage to 2 symposiums and a religious ethics board." Alex swore,
Religious ethics
quietly this time. He'd learned it was best not to draw further attention, especially from the plants. On the 5th morning after the splinter, the world came in waves. Heat first, then ache, then a soft mechanical tremor that did not belong to any machine Alex knew. He woke on his cot in the research pavilion, with his palm throbbing, his forearm tight,
now
and a
because
fever that turned
If I don't,
daylight syrupy.
I'm gonna wish I did it
The
later.
bandage was clean, but the skin beneath it felt busy, as if a hive had moved in and insisted it was housekeeping. Dr. Rajani checked his temperature and frowned. 39.1. "You are done pretending this is fine." "I never said fine," Alex muttered, trying to sit without groaning. "I said minor, yesterday." "Semantics," she answered, and motioned to the liaison team, already waiting at the doorway. Maya Torres, cultural officer, carried a slate covered in legal flags. Commander Brooks, security, looked like a man who had slept in his boots. A local guide stood with them, throat sacs dim, eyes calm in a way that made Alex feel like a noisy instrument. Maya spoke first. "The Senate has called an emergency session. The footage made it to the high schools. A chorus recorded a ballad. There are petitions." "Petitions for what?" Alex asked through a dry mouth. Brooks folded his arms. "For your immediate isolation under religious law, or for your burial in consecrated soil. Depends on the signer." Alex stared at his hand. "I would like to avoid burial." "So would we," Maya said gently. "But we have to navigate this. For now you are going to a Velatari clinic. Their word is temple. Their care is real medicine. You will be a guest. Guest as in patient, or guest as in relic." Brooks said under his breath. The guide's translator chimed. "Guest as in burden we welcome." They moved him with care. A soft, padded litter, a shaded path, the clinic's doors opening into a hall of still air and green light. It was quiet enough to hear his own pulse. The walls breathed faintly. Plants, braided into the architecture, shifted like sleepers. At the center of the main chamber, a shallow pool reflected vines that trembled in fine patterns. The Velatari called it the feedback basin. "Pain songs," the guide had said. Here wounds were tuned rather than cut. A physician approached, tall and luminous. The translator named him Laye. He examined the bandage without touching it and asked for Alex's consent to use a scanning vine. A slender tendril curled near the wound, glowing at intervals that matched the throb in Alex's palm. Laia watched the glow change and then nodded once. "There is something in the wound that is not you," Laia said. "Not the shard you removed. Residue of the living support vine. Dormant seed parts that drink your warmth. Spore fragments," Dr. Rajani said softly. Laia tilted his head. "To us they are sacred threads. You are carrying them inside. That makes you a conduit by our law." Alex swallowed. "Can you get them out without killing them or me?" Laia's fins flattened. "We do not cut casually. We surround and coax. We can attempt a sheath to calm the tissue and slow spread, but we will not remove sacred threads by force without the Senate and the elders of Roots agreeing." Maya stepped closer. "We respect your law. We also need to keep him alive." Laia inclined his head. "Life and law are not enemies. Sit with us. Let the plants listen." They placed Alex on a cushioned bench. The physician gathered 3 aides who hummed into the basin, low notes that rippled across water. Vines quivered in reply. A halo of scent rose. mint and dust and something close to rain, Lai painted a clear gel along the edges of the wound. It cooled and tightened. The ache softened, but stayed. Alex tried to breathe with the music. His hand trembled anyway. By late afternoon, the temperature drifted down a notch, then up again. The gel soothed the skin, but not the deep pressure that came and went like a tide. When he shifted his thumb, a needle fire traced his forearm. He squeezed his eyes shut and saw an image he could not explain, a lattice of green under dim light, gently opening. He let out a shaky laugh that was not humor. It was relief that the pain had a shape. Kith arrived near dusk wearing no reed-light band. His colors were dimmer than Alex had ever seen them. He stood awkwardly until Maya lifted a hand that meant you may speak. I lost observer status, Kith said, voice level. I did a foolish thing. I wanted to feel human pain to calibrate your thresholds. I pressed a nettle thorn into my skin without ritual. I barely broke the surface. It caused a panic. The chorus had to come. Children in the hall cried. I was reckless. Alex turned his head on the pillow. You okay? It hurts like heat, Kith admitted, and unclasped his wrist cuff to show a pale tear that looked wrong on his smooth skin. It will close when I sing. Not now. I am not singing for myself today. He looked at Alex's bandaged hand with a mixture of reverence and guilt. I do not want you to die here, because we cannot understand what to honor. Me neither, Alex said, and managed a tired smile that did not pretend to be brave. I would rather go home and file a boring report. The Senate met through the night. Lai came back at intervals to check the gel and feed new frequencies into the basin. By morning, Maya returned with news and a set mouth. They declared you a conduit, she said. You cannot be harmed intentionally if it risks the spores, which means we need to be cautious. Half want you placed in a root field for constant contact. The other half want you studied. They agreed on one point: no destructive procedure. Brooks ran a hand over his short hair, which rules out everything we brought for a standard infection. We are not sure antibiotics will even touch this, Rajani said quietly. And if they do, it could sterilize the spores. That would be an insult we cannot afford. Alex did not like the next hour. The pain shifted from hot to electric. His hand spasmed without permission. Fine tremors climbed to the wrist, then marched to the elbow. Laya watched the water as if it contained answers. The gel was reapplied. It cooled. It calmed. It did not fix. Can we at least image this with our tools? Rajani asked. Laya conferred with a temple elder whose throat lights fluttered in thought. You may look if you do not pierce. No needles, no cuts. A portable ultrasound scanner hummed to life. Rajani smeared clear jelly and moved the probe across Alex's palm and wrist. The grainy screen held shadows and bright lines. She traced the triangle near the base of the thumb and frowned. There is material here that is not normal. It looks like strands, branching, not fracture, not pus collection, no fluid pocket to drain. The median nerve looks irritated. That explains the numbness you described. Alex swallowed again. So this pain will not just go away. Not on its own, she said. We can help with pain control. There is a nerve block we can do without cutting. Ultrasound-guided injection to bathe the nerve. Minimal risk. We can use a local anesthetic that will not affect plant cells. Maya looked to Laya. The physician considered. You would place medicine near the singing wires of sensation. Yes, Rajani said. Not in the wound, next to the nerve near the wrist. It will stop the pain signal for hours. It will not kill anything in the wound. Laya weighed the idea, then dipped 2 fingers in the basin. The water rippled in a pattern Alex had not seen before. The plant stilled. Laya nodded. Granted. The procedure was careful and slow. Rajani showed the probe image to Leah, so consent stayed informed. She cleaned the skin 3 times, then introduced a fine needle under guidance, and watched the anesthetic spread like a soft cloud around the nerve. The relief felt like a door opening. The electric spikes went quiet. Alex let out a breath he had been holding since morning, and almost cried with the release. We will not repeat this too often, Rajani warned. Nerve blocks are safe, but not a long-term fix. It buys us time. With the pain dulled, they drew blood from a vein above the elbow. far from the wound. The Velatari allowed it only after Leah touched the basin, and the vines rolled their leaves inward like a sign. Samples went to 2 labs. 1 human, 1 Velatari. The human bench saw oddities fast. Under a simple scope, the serum showed tiny flecks that glowed when hit with certain light. The lab tech swore under his breath and called Rahani. She slid into the chair and watched the flicker dance around platelets like cautious moths. She sent images to an orbiting clinic ship for opinions. Early replies were not comforting, not bacterial, not fungal in any human sense. The cell walls behaved like plant cells but responded to human proteins, something learned when it met him. Laia returned with his own findings. Your heat changed the dormant threads. Your body speaks with chemicals of alarm. The threads woke and tried to help as they do in Velatari tissue. But you are not us.
Okay.
They knit skin too fast in places and left gaps in others. They sent whispers along your sensation wires when they meant to soothe. They are not malicious. They are wrong. Maya translated the legal core. By law, anything that carries awakened sacred threads belongs to the cycle. In practice, that means your body is under protection and under scrutiny. They cannot force removal with force. But they can require you to remain within root ground. Some want to place you in living soil until the threads settle. I cannot breathe in dirt for weeks, Alex said, voice thin. No one is putting you in a hole, Brooks said, then checked himself because the guide was still in the room. Sorry, respectfully, that is not happening. We will propose a third option, Maya said, eyes moving between Laia and Kith. A containment approach that protects the threads while protecting Alex. Kith leaned forward. Human tech can build walls so small even our spores cannot pass. Our harmonics can teach the threads to sleep, not forever, long enough for his skin to heal true. Rajani nodded slowly. Nanotech can create a perimeter, not inside vessels, around the wound and along the nerve paths where the activity is. If we limit it to the arm, we reduce risk. We can program the particles to respond to acoustic patterns. If the Velatari harmonics can entrain the spores, we can keep them isolated without killing them. Laia listened with eyes half closed. You propose a cage that sings. A gentle fence, Kith said. We would only sing the resting song. No excoriation, no separation. Just sleep. Brooks blew out a breath. We will need a hard sell. The elders will hear nanotech and think invasion. Then pitch it as a vessel, Maya said. A vessel that keeps sacred threads whole. Language matters. The nerve block wore down late that night. The pain returned thinner but still sharp. Alex drank water, took acetaminophen as instructed, and kept his arm elevated. He let the clinic chorus wash him in low chords that did not erase the ache but made it less lonely. In brief quiet, he heard the soft mechanical tremor again. Not machine. A plant hum threaded into his pulse. It did not comfort him. It also did not feel like an enemy. On the 7th morning, a new team arrived by shuttle at dawn. Dr. June Park led them, compact and focused, with a paramedic named Tom O'Neill who carried kits enough for a crisis tent. Park reviewed the scans, the gel notes, the plant responses, and the Senate decrees. She spoke to Alex with a calm that did not condescend. You are not septic, she said. White count is elevated but not explosive. Inflammatory markers are high. Your nerve irritability explains the tremors. Your vitals are stable. You are not dying today. But this cannot be ignored for long. Standard antifungals would probably damage these threads and cause an incident no one wants. We can manage pain and inflammation and protect function. We will need a compromise for the cause, or this will cycle again. He nodded, jaw tight. I want to live. I also do not want to be the reason someone here burns a sacred grove. Good, Park said. No heroics, only choices. By afternoon, the first meeting for the compromise was set. Maya drafted an argument that framed containment as an act of devotion to the cycle. Kith collected recordings of the resting song. Laia volunteered to monitor the basin for signs of distress in the root network while the field operated. Park built a list of safety limits. No deeper than mid-forearm, no particles in blood, no cuts. The Senate would hear it the next day. Alex rehearsed his role until his voice went rough. He was not a messiah. He was a patient with an odd wound. He would tell them that plainly. he would not laugh. He would not flinch. That night, as the clinic dimmed and the vines settled, Kith sat on the floor near Alex's cot with his reed light clasp dim. "I thought humans were fearless," he said softly. The footage made it look like that. Alex stared at the ceiling and let honesty strip the easy answers. "I am not fearless. I was hungry and tired and stubborn. That is a bad combination. I am afraid now. I am also grateful. Your songs help. Your laws frighten me. I will follow the parts that save lives." Kith drew in a breath that made his throat lights glow. "Thank you for not being the myth." "Thank you for not being the mob," Alex replied, and closed his eyes as the clinic drifted into another low chord that felt like deep water. The wound pulsed once, and somewhere under the bandage, a thread of green decided to rest. The hum softened. The ache said it would be back. The plan waited for a vote. The morning would be work rather than miracle, which was all Alex wanted it to be. The Senate chamber felt like a forest with opinions. Root columns rose into a vaulted green, and the air tasted of wet stone and old leaves. Alex stood beside Maya, and Doctor rose into a vaulted green. Park on a circular stage, while the elders arranged themselves along a ridge of gilded vines. Lai waited near the feedback basin with hands folded. Kith stood at the edge of protocol, allowed to attend as a penitent scholar, his reed light clasped dim. Maya spoke first, because words were now tools. She did not hurry. She called the spores threads. She called Alex a guest who must not be broken. She called their plan a vessel for sacred life. When she finished, Dr. Park stepped forward with a slender projector and a careful voice. "We propose a containment field that uses human nanotechnology contained within a topical gel, and no cuts. The gel forms a thin lattice inside the skin over the wound and along irritated nerve pathways in the forearm. The particles respond to acoustic patterns. Velitary root harmonics can maintain those patterns. The result is an isolation that protects the threads from our immune system and protects Alex from further spread. Nothing is killed. Nothing is removed. The field can be reversed when your elders decide the cycle is complete." A murmur went through the ridge. An elder rose, throat lights dim but steady. "We do not invite machines into our flesh. These remain at the surface and in the shallow tissues," Park replied. "No entry into vessels. No spread to the chest or head. We can track them with harmless imaging. We will set limits in writing." Another voice, higher and edged with fear. "Better to sleep him in soil until the threads decide to let go. That is how we honor a conduit." Maya bowed slightly. "Onterra bodies placed in soil for many days suffer from pressure injuries, infection risk, and muscle loss. We ask to keep him above ground and intact. Honor can survive sunlight." Laya touched the basin. Ripples spread until the water stilled the room. He was not a senator, yet everyone listened when he spoke. "We have tried our grow gels and our quiet songs. They calm but do not repair. The threads are awake in a body that does not know their language. A cage that sings may keep them from shouting until healing closes the door." Kith stepped forward before protocol could stop him. He lifted a small amplifier and let it play a tone that was not music and not noise. The vines around the basin drew their leaves inward, then slowly relaxed, as if accepting a hand on the shoulder. "This is the resting song filtered through human devices," Kith said. "It is not perfect. It is useful." The Senate withdrew to confer. The humans stepped down and stood near a cluster of stone seats. Brooks appeared with a whisper of boots and a look that asked if he should be ready to carry someone. Maya shook her head. "Wait," the gesture said. They argued in the quiet, while the elders debated. Brooks wanted to declare a medical emergency and board the shuttle now. Park said that would start a fight they could not win, and might strand them on the pad. Rajani favored a smaller push, allow imaging and nerve control and hold the line, but the fever and tremor would keep cycling. Maya held her slate like a shield, and reminded them that partnerships are not built on stricter threats. Alex leaned on the seat back and kept his breathing slow because anything else tipped toward panic. He could feel the hum in his palm even with the gel cooling it. It was a small engine under his skin that refused to quit. The vote came as a sweep of light across the ridge. Laya's fins lifted in a small relief that humans learned to read as yes. The elder with the dim throat lights addressed them. Your proposal is accepted with limits. The gel will stay in the arm only. It will not pierce a vessel. The acoustic control will be shared. Our chorus will have equal command with your devices. The field will be reversible. The root elders will sit in the clinic during the first placement. If the basin shows distress in the grove, you will stop. Maya bowed more deeply. Accepted. Park set the time for morning, then sat with
I'm gonna have
Alex
a
to
Cheez-It.
explain again in patient words.
Cheez-It.
She listed risks and benefits. She asked him to repeat them back. He did, halting at first, then with more certainty as his own voice solidified the facts. The field could cause local inflammation. It could irritate peripheral nerves for a day or two. It should limit the spread of threads beyond the wound zone. Pain might decrease once the nerve stopped receiving the chemical noise that the threads sent. He signed consent with a hand that shook a little, which was allowed. At dawn, the clinic became a stage. They set a sterile field without drama. Chlorhexidine swabbed his palm and forearm in slow, deliberate circles. A portable ultrasound unit waited to map the boundaries. The gel came in a sealed packet. Its color was the pale green of early apples. Laya placed a small bowl of root fragments near the basin to localize the chorus. Kith checked the amplifier and looked at Alex with a clouded expression that had only one meaning: please live. Before we begin, I want baseline checks, Park said. Dr. Rajani, please confirm pulses and capillary refill. Tom, check 2-point discrimination on the thumb and index finger. Rajani pressed fingers at the wrist. Radial pulse present and strong. Cap refill brisk. Tom touched 2 small points to Alex's thumb with a plastic caliper. 4 millimeters. Sensation intact but edgy. They repeated the ultrasound-guided nerve block at the wrist. Consent again. Antiseptic again. The fine needle slid in, and the screen showed the local anesthetic spread. Alex felt the long electric line down his palm go quiet. He did not pretend it solved the problem. He welcomed the minutes it bought. Park smoothed the gel over the bandaged site and along a marked strip toward the elbow where the nerve had flared. The gel sank in with a cooling that moved like shade across hot ground. On a second screen, nanotags came alive as a constellation near the skin. Kith began the resting song with a tone generator and a human breath. The chorus picked up the line and layered harmonics until the basin looked like rain under moonlight. The gel responded. The tags aligned into a thin mesh that hugged tissue planes. Park watched the images and spoke in a steady cadence for the room to hear. Mesh formation at 1 millimeter depth. No entry into veins. No spread beyond marked zone. Particle density within safe limit. Laya's eyes were on the basin. The grove is quiet. The threads near the wound are moving less. They are answering the sleep. Alex felt it like a volume knob turning down. Not silence. A hush. The hum that had threaded into his pulse pulled back from the bone. Heat cooled. An ache remained like a bruise that had not decided what color to be. They waited an hour before moving him. There was no rush. The mesh had to settle. The chorus sang softer now, a watchman's tune rather than a storm song. Park checked the skin for changes that meant trouble. No swelling beyond the gel zone, no modeling, pulses still strong, 2-point discrimination unchanged. She ordered scheduled acetaminophen and a low dose of an anti-inflammatory if the elders allowed it. Laya considered and agreed with a caveat that it not be given before the basin had a chance to hear its effect. They wanted the grove to know what humans called medicine. The first day passed without a spike. The fever broke to a mild simmer. Tremors dwindled to a faint quiver in the fingers when fatigue set in. Rajani peered through the scope at serum taken above the elbow and saw fewer glowing flecks out in the circulation. The mesh had not trapped the threads completely, but it had corralled them. On the second day, the nerve pain returned as the block wore off, but it was blunt
Oh,
rather than
sweet.
sharp.
A good sword for
Park
change.
added a nerve stabilizer that does not sedate much. Kith delivered the harmonics on a schedule and learned to hear when Alex needed more. The clinic chorus adjusted to the human clock. They sang at regular intervals that made sense to a body that trusted dawn and dusk. They began rehabilitation the day after the field placement because waiting would cost him weeks later. A hand therapist from the orbiting ship came down with a kit of soft putty, cloth bands, and a folder of drawings. She introduced herself as Nora and asked permission to touch, before she measured anything. She started with gentle range of motion, flexion, and extension of the fingers, thumb opposition to each fingertip, tendon glides for the flexors and extensors, nerve glides for the median nerve in short sets. She warned him that too much would inflame the area, and that rest was not a lack of
Okay, I
effort.
can go get myself another
She made a
thing.
night splint to keep the wrist in neutral and protect the mesh zone while he slept. She wrote a plan that covered the next 10 days, because that was all anyone could promise. The Senate issued a decree that afternoon that called the field an act of custodial reverence. The word study did not appear. The word burial did not appear. Kith read it twice, then laughed once with relief, and almost fell over because he had eaten nothing since dawn. Alex passed him a pack of nutrient gel, and watched the scholar drink it like a saint rehydrating after a vision. Human personnel still argued in corners. Brooks did not like reliance on a lattice made of machines he could not see and songs he could not sing. Park reminded him that the alternative had been soil and stillness. Maya cautioned that goodwill had a half-life and that they should plan an exit that did not look like fleeing. Rajani demanded strict, sterile technique for every dressing change and won the point each time. They were tired. They stayed civil. By the 5th day, Alex could sleep 3 hours at a stretch without waking to the engine hum. By the 7th, he could close his fist to the halfway point without shooting pain. The fever did not return. The scar itched in a way that meant the surface was knitting. He did not scratch. He tapped around it and counted his breaths instead. Kith kept arriving with questions that were now kinder. Is cracking knuckles a social signal? Do marathon runners finish because of culture or because they are chasing something in their marrow? Does pain teach or only wound? Alex answered what he could and said, I do not know, when he did not. On the 9th day, a new scan showed the mesh intact. The threads within the boundary glowed in a softer pattern, less frenetic, more like embers than sparks. Park suggested a brief test. Lower the harmonics by a fraction to see if the thread stayed restful under a thinner blanket. The elders agreed with clear limits. The basin did not ripple in alarm. Alex felt a whisper rather than a rattle. They restored the full song and noted the difference. 2 weeks after the Senate vote, he walked around the clinic garden without assistance. The path curved along a pool where small leaf boats drifted under soft nets of sunlight. He flexed his fingers and they obeyed, with a stiffness that spoke of work left to do rather than damage beyond repair. Laya met him under an arch and checked the scar with careful eyes. The skin was pale and slightly raised. No redness, no drainage. Tender to press, but not angrily so. He tested sensation again. Light touch intact along the thumb. No loss. He nodded. You carry our threads, and you have not been taken by them, Lai said. The cage sings, and they rest. I can feel them when the world goes quiet, Alex said. It is like standing near a hive that is sleepy. That may never leave you, Lai said without apology. Carry it as a reminder that other lives notice when you act. Kith arrived at a run that scandalized 3 elders who were using the path for contemplation. He had a bundle under his arm and a grin that belonged to someone who had permission to be proud. The Academy restored my observer status, he said. I wrote a correction to my Chaos Habits syllabus. I included a new lesson titled Curiosity is not a map. The students loved it. What is in the bundle? Alex asked. Not yet, Kith said. For later. You are not done. Alex breathed the plant thick air and felt the hum answer like a far corridor that would never shut completely. He did not want a miracle. He wanted the next day to look like work he could finish. The field was holding. The songs were working. The rehab was a climb rather than a fall. Part of him wanted to leave tomorrow. Most of him knew better. He went back inside for another set of tendon glides and a measured dose of patience. The clinic cord began anew, softer than before, and the basin traced a pattern like a heartbeat at rest. No one called him a messiah in that room. He was a patient with a plan and people who would argue for him until he could argue for himself again. 3 weeks after the Senate vote, the clinic smelled of clean leaves and alcohol swabs. Morning light made a pattern on the floor that Alex used as a map for his steps while Nora counted. Flex, extend, glide, rest. He worked the soft putty until his palm shook and then stopped because stopping was part of the plan. The mesh held its faint cool like a cloud under skin. The chorus kept the resting song quiet and steady. 2 sets today, Nora said. Scar work after lunch. Lotion only. Slow circles. No nails. We are still watching for nerve flare and for signs of complex pain. Any color change that persists or deep burning that spreads, you tell me and we adjust. He nodded. Grip feels stronger. She measured with a little device and wrote the numbers without comment. Later she showed him the chart. Day 3 had been a weak hand that missed buttons. Day 21 showed a curve that made hope feel practical. The mesh had not migrated. The wound had closed with a thin line. The itch was the normal kind that meant skin was knitting. He tapped around it when the urge rose, as instructed. He did not scratch. Dr. Park reviewed images that afternoon and called for a short trial of reduced harmonics again. Laya watched the basin, and the grove did not tremble. Rajani checked blood, drawn above the elbow, and found the glowing flecks quieter, less eager to wander. The threads learned, she said in a voice that held both respect and science. Their proteins were shifting, binding to human inflammatory signals and changing their own output. Less alarm, more acceptance. It looks like they are expressing a sheath protein that we see in velatory tissue, Rajani added. Not identical, close enough to slow the crosstalk. I sent the sequences up to the ship. We might be looking at a path to help velatory wounds that do not behave, with permission. Laya listened, and then touched the basin with 2 fingers. If this becomes a lesson for our clinics, we will name the protocol for the grove that offered the first sleep. Outside the clinic, not everyone sang the same note. A small group gathered at the gates on the 4th week, chanting for a return to the old law. Burial, they said, completed the cycle. Alex heard the sounds carry inside like wind that missed the window. Brooks kept his team visible but calm. Maya spoke to a cluster of elders for an hour and came back with a line that sounded like a bridge. The cycle could be honored without soil if the vessel carried the song honestly and if the departure included a ritual of unrooting. The word tasted strange in his mouth, and he repeated it until it felt like something he could stand under. Kith was a constant figure at the edge of the routine. He brought questions and silence in equal measure now. On the 5th week, he delivered a bowl of smooth stones and a small brush. For desensitization, he said with pride. I watched Nora and built this set from river stones near the old water. Alex brushed the scar lightly, then a little firmer, starting at the edges and never on the center until the nerves agreed. He compared temperatures on both hands and reported when the scar felt colder after use. Nora nodded. Normal for scar tissue. Will improve with massage and time. He took acetaminophen with water on a schedule and a low dose of a nerve stabilizer at night on days when the hum rose along the median path. He kept the splint on for sleep. He used a towel roll when he read to avoid depending on the injured thumb. He did not lift more than a few kilos until Nora said he could. On day 30, the chorus tapered the song for several hours to see if the threads stayed restful with less guidance. The basin stayed calm. The groves did not send alarm. Lai moved around the room with quiet satisfaction and then spoke a sentence that made everyone soften in place. The threads know the fence now. By week 6, Nora handed him a harder putty and a small spring clip to test inner strength. His grip would never set records, but it would open jars after breakfast. Sensation along the thumb was present and sharp again. 2-point discrimination matched the other hand within a millimeter. The tremor was gone except after long days. He could type with both hands. He could close his fist with only a tug at the scar, like a reminder that skin remembers. They planned discharge for the end of the 6th week. Park wrote orders that looked like restraint rendered in neat lines. Limit heavy strain for 2 more weeks. Scar massage twice a day. Stretching twice daily. No cutting near the site for at least 3 months to allow nerve calm. Monitor for signs of overuse. Return if burning pain or swelling spreads. The mesh would remain inert and gradually disperse unless reactivated by the harmonics. The remaining threads would stay isolated along the old wound path and likely remain asleep as long as he did not tear the tissue again. Permission to leave required.
Every little mini pocket rocket.
Maya drafted a
Okay, one
plan
second,
that
but
recognized
I've
the
got to get
sanctity
home
of
for a
the
sec.
threads,
Just let me get back
while
to the base.
declining
Yeah,
to
we'll come
remain on Venora indefinitely.
Okay.
Okay, but it's
A
gonna be
council of
surprising
root
if you
elders
see
added a stanza that
Mini,
acknowledged his
mini
role
pocket
and
rocket.
limited the
Tiny one?
conduit designation
Oh,
to
okay,
the
that's fine.
arm he carried away. It was legal poetry. It worked. The unrooting ritual took place in the early evening of his last day. The clinic garden filled with quiet bodies and soft lights. A walkway of woven reeds led to a small platform beside the feedback basin. Alex stood there with his arm bare to the wrist, the scar pale and smooth. The chorus sang the resting
Not
song
gonna leave
one
a
last
thrall
time
like
at
this
clinic
laying
strength.
around. Heck no,
And
man.
then Kith stepped forward with a bowl of water
I'll
that
get
held
it home, I'll get her
fragments
home,
of the
I'll
support
put her in the
vine
thing,
that
and then,
started this mess.
I'll be up.
The cycle
Sound
does not end with burial, Kith said,
I get
the
pee.
translator
Huh?
finding a
I guess
cadence that
trying to
made
get pee.
sense to human ears.
What?
Are you trying
It
to get pee?
continues when a guest
No.
carries care into the
That's what I
wide
thought.
places. We untie him from our ground without cutting him from our regard. Alex dipped his fingers into the water and drew a line along the scar. It felt cool and clean. The hum inside his arm answered the touch with a note he
I'm
felt
listening to
more
a
than
story.
heard.
It's
Not
pretty
loud.
good.
Present. Laya nodded and placed
What?
his hand over
You
Alex's
acting all
to steady
sus,
the
man.
moment.
You alright?
Go without
Yeah,
debt,
he's right.
Laya said.
Waiting for you, yeah.
Return with stories that do not start in blood. After
Alright.
the last cord faded, Kith approached with the bundle he had guarded for weeks. He unwrapped a slender blade forged from layered plant metal and polished to a soft shine. The handle was wrapped in woven reed light that did not
You'll
glow,
get like maybe a
as
couple
if in
pops out of it,
respect
okay?
for quiet things.
No.
This
This
is an
one's
old tool,
specifically made for
Kith
you
said.
to.
It was
Ingest
used
all
for
of it.
soul rituals
one
in
shot?
a time we do not celebrate
No, not
now.
in one shot.
We remade its meaning. It is
That's
for
a
cutting
setup.
nets and vines and string
That's
when
like
you
a what?
must.
That's
It is for
bomb.
opening sealed fruit
Ah.
and boxes when you should not use a fork. So next time you do not have to use the lunch fork. He worked to keep the smile steady and managed it. I did not use a fork. It is a better story when you did, Kith said with a flash of pride that countered
It's a
his
bit
mischief.
straight. He used the fork.
Then he sobered. Thank you for letting me be wrong near you and not die of it. Thank you for not giving up on me when your own got scared, Alex replied, and accepted the blade with both hands. The shuttle lifted at dawn.
I'm almost here. I
The
gotta
clinic
put him in the
windows
thing. I hope
reflected the
that other one's
sky while
done.
the chorus sang a travel tune that made the pilot
About to build
blink
another one.
and
I
then
don't want
laugh
to.
because it sounded exactly like morning coffee.
Oh, it looks like they're done.
Brooks relaxed an inch when the ground fell away. Maya sank into a seat and covered her eyes with a hand, then peeked through her fingers at the receding green and whispered a goodbye so soft the translator ignored it. Park reviewed the scans one more time and closed the file. On the ship, a nurse removed the last thread of clinic dressing and replaced it with a thin silicone sheet to flatten the scar. Nora had packed extra sheets with written instructions, used daily for several weeks.
There we go.
Moisturize,
Everything's all right, guys. I'll be right
work
back.
the tissue, respect it. He
Go hang
slid
out
the
my boys for a few
ceremonial
minutes.
blade into a secure locker. He did not plan to.
forgot to put the thing back. Sorry.
Yes, yes. I know the story. Running prey for hours.
Flint.
Collecting rubble. Surviving hostile planes. But biology has limits.
Flint needs a new thingy.
So I can go beat the game because let's go. All at once?
Yeah, look at that, guys. He even said all at once. All right. I'm gonna have to remember to leave the. I'm gonna have to switch out that Be Right Back video. I think.
Yeah, chicken with them breaking her tooth again.
Who's breaking it too?
She's
Oh, the dog. Hey, son, if you want that, you can have it. It's in a box, right?
The Erythian girl with silver skin and bioluminescent veins
Okay.
tracing her temples was studying the
There we go.
slide. Her brow furrowed in
Yeah,
concentration.
Jojo.
She hadn't laughed. That helped. After class, as the crowd filed out, Kaili caught up with Daniel. "You didn't ask any questions," she said, voice like soft glass. "Usually you do." He shrugged. Didn't see the point. She tilted her head. "Are you angry?" "No," he lied, too quickly, then softer. "Just tired of being a walking counter-argument." She offered a small smile, uncertain. "Maybe next time, ask one." He nodded and walked away before he said anything stupid. Because every time she smiled like that, his brain turned into a crashing server. A week later, the class gathered at the Valley. Technically, a controlled biome nestled within the Academy's southern grounds, the Valley was 2 square miles of terrain enclosed by energy fencing.
I think my
and
boys
high
come get me and they're ready to
surveillance
start.
nodes.
Right,
Its
boys?
purpose,
They come get me and ready to start?
planetary ecosystems for
Need to come
trade.
get me and you're ready to
Today's
start?
focus was
Alright.
Erythosian apex predators. They were not smart. Don't
Alright.
worry, their supervisor,
I left
a
them out there.
lavender-skinned
That's fine. I
Valen
need to
named
leave you
Cress,
here anyways.
assured them. Sedation collars are triple fail safe. The creature is asleep. Your task is observation and simulated containment coordination. You will not be touching it. This is non-contact. Daniel exhaled. His heart had been fluttering ever since they arrived. Kaeli stood near him, glancing around the observation ridge that circled the valley floor. Down below, in the center clearing, the predator lay sprawled. 6 legs, sinewy neck, armor-plated torso, teeth that looked stolen from a nightmare. Even unconscious, it exuded menace. "I read their bite force can crack ceramic armor," Kaylee whispered. Daniel swallowed. "That's comforting." Cress began dividing the students into small pods, each assigned to different tasks: respiration monitoring, thermal imaging, electromagnetic feedback. Daniel was assigned to Kaeli's group. Not ideal,
that's probably not here
considering
anymore.
he couldn't string a proper sentence around her, but worse things had happened. They descended the access slope and took positions behind the reinforced shielding posts. The predator remained still, its sides rising and falling
I want to
in
go
a
to
shallow
someone's
rhythm.
house.
The
and see if they
sedation
got
collar
those.
glowed faint blue. Kaeli adjusted her
I need an
tablet,
armor
scanning
real
vitals.
bad. All I have
Everything
is
stable.
$50 though. So.
Then the collar flickered.
This would be a tier
Daniel
1.
saw it. One moment,
Yep.
steady light. The next, darkness. Before he could speak, the beast stirred. A low rumble.
You guys
swept
ready?
Its throat.
Yep.
Its limbs twitched.
Okay, one second.
claws
Then.
flexed,
No, I
and
gotta
then
get hiding in this
it
building,
roared.
so I don't.
The sound
Ah!
was pure force, not just heard, but felt. Chests rattled, ears rang. Some students screamed. Chaos erupted. The predator lunged upright, eyes
Second
blazing,
here.
jaws
No,
snapping.
oh, I guess I
It
hold the
twisted,
triangle button. and that
wrenching
happens.
against the restraining bolts, then one gave way with a metallic shriek. The other followed. A claw slashed through the ground, sending soil and equipment flying. "Fall back!" Cress shouted from the ridge.
You think they'll ever
Emergency
find me
teams
here?
inbound. But it was too late.
All right,
Daniel
guys.
turned
I'll
just
be
in
right back.
time to
My
see
boys
Coyote
need
freeze.
to hang up me for a
She stood
for a little
maybe
bit.
15 meters
and I'll-
from the beast.
I'm
her
not going
scream
anywhere. I'm
filled.
gonna stay alive now.
Her
I'm
eyes
just
were locked onto the creature,
gonna put this
frozen,
on. I'll leave
paralyzed,
on the
and the
audio
predator
and stuff.
saw
I'll be right back.
it pivoted and charged. Daniel moved.
Alright, guys, I'm back, but unfortunately, my boys had both come up to me and they wanted to watch movies. And now I'm going to go watch the Leprechaun movies with them. It's all good, though. I'll be back on again in a little bit. Yeah. Will it be Conan? Probably not. It might be Valheim. Which I have to... Where's my... Alright, there we go. If I do come back, guys, it'll be Valheim. I promise. I'll be playing probably Valheim or something. If anyone wants to hit me up and want to play, let's do it. Alright, guys, on to next time. Wait, who's all streaming right now? Go here. Oh, Matt's streaming. Let's raid our good friend Matt. Slash raid. And then I go at. Oh, he's not even in here. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Hoodie. I hope he got his sleep that he needed. Oh, I gotta do this. Hoodie cat Matt. Alright, here we go. Alright, let's go hit up our good friend Matt, guys. An amazing Christian streamer. Variety streamer. He's a good man. Check him out, guys. I'll always recommend my friends. Like, if you want to check out Miz streamer, check out Flint. Or, Hoodie Cat Matt. Check out Flint. Check out all of us that you always see me with. We're all pretty fun. Alright, guys. Until next time, God bless. And as always, stay awesome.